Alright guys, here we go. Welcome back to Casey's Garage. Right here next to me is my 2005 Ford F250 with the Powerstroke 6.0. And if you're new to the channel, and this is the first video you're watching, this is a theft recovery vehicle that I bought at Copart. And there's a couple of wiring harnesses here in the engine bay that were cut. And the last video, which I'll put a link at the end of this video, maybe in the description, we got the main wiring harness taken out of the truck. And we're basically just gonna pick up where we stopped last time and go ahead and start getting the replacement harness installed into the truck. And hopefully here in a short time we'll get this running and see how good of a purchase it was. Alright, I'm gonna try to do the best I can with the lighting again. And I think before we start installing new wires, I'm gonna go ahead and get the shop vac and clean all the debris out of here. There's a bunch of dirt and leaves. And yeah, let's kind of start from there. Alright, so I just realized my GoPro is having the fits again. This thing is driving me nuts. So I don't know if it recorded what I just did or not, but if not, what I just did is vacuumed out the engine bay over here with the shop vac, get all the leaves and debris out of the way. And now, what I'm going to do is use some of the CRC electronic cleaner and spray these connections in here before we reconnect the new harness. Alright. Alright, I'm going to get the replacement harness here and go ahead and start getting it kind of laid out in place. All that goes over there. That's what we're missing. So I think the first thing I'm going to do, is this on? Alright, it's on. I'm going to start checking that every time. Is I'm going to reroute these wires here through the firewall that go into the internal fuse box. So we'll go ahead and get these inside, and then we'll start putting everything in place. Alright, so I'm going to start working over here. Pretty much got the other side wired in. And I'm going to move this little bracket here so I can get to the clip or the connector that connects underneath that, which is this right here. So let me grab a deep socket. Alright, so I need to take some of the old harness that's clipped out here. There's one more down there in there. Oh no, that's just where it's all been at. Look at all the rocks, guys. Look at this. get to that stinking connector. There we go. Why not just go through a hole right here and then put the connector? I don't know. I'm not an engineer. All right, so now we can get back to the harness. It's kind of hard to get the camera up here for you guys, but let me go ahead and get this out of here. There we go. Careful not to hit that border, it's gonna be a bad night. There. All right, so the truck is pretty much wired up. I'm gonna show you a couple things here. These, I just have, oh, it looks like the tape's not sticking. I'll have to redo those. And this truck, this has a different, I think it's what's a blower resistor for the AC, and then what the wiring harness was made for. So the truck has 5 wires, I believe, coming out, and the wiring harness only has 4, and the extra wire is a blue and white one, and I'm not sure exactly what it goes to. So for now, I just matched up all the other wires. I don't know if you guys can see, and I just have tape on there temporarily because once we get the truck running, we'll see, you know, if something doesn't work, then we know that it's something to do with the wiring and we'll have to mess with it, or if everything does work, then we'll do a permanent splice on these wires here. So I did cut back the plastic here just to see if the blue wire were to be tucked. And the interesting thing is, I went back and looked at the old harness, and I was looking at where it was cut over there, and I didn't see the blue wire in there either. So I'm not really sure what that's for. And another difference is our truck has just a temperature sensor here in the air intake, and the wiring harness is wired for a mass airflow sensor, which somewhere around here, there it is. So here's the connector for the mass airflow sensor, and the harness that was in here actually had an mass airflow sensor and a temperature sensor, and the mass airflow just was disconnected because it didn't go to anything. So did a little bit of research on this, and interesting thing is, for whatever reason, Ford, for the late 2005 model year, they went from a mass airflow sensor to a temperature sensor, and then in 2006 they went back to a mass airflow sensor. So I don't know what they're doing in 05. But so what we're going to do is I ordered a mass airflow sensor, and we're just going to plug it in and we'll see what happens. I don't know if the computer will automatically recognize the sensor or we'll have to get the truck programmed, but that's what we're going to do here. And the only other difference in the harness is on the truck here, somewhere, here it is, right in front of me. There is a sensor for the outside air temperature, and the harness coming out the truck, I don't see one for that. So that is not a big deal. I'll worry about that later. And one other thing that happened the other night when I was routing the new battery cables in the truck and then taking it down to the starter, I went to reconnect the cable to the starter here, and the post just broke right out of the solenoid here. So a new starter is on its way. It should be ready to pick up tomorrow morning from AutoZone, and that's pretty much going to be the last thing we need before we can try to start the truck. So I want to make sure that everything's ready to go, and while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and go back and cut the exhaust hanging off the back, so if we do get it started up, we can see if it will move out of the garage. I did go ahead and get the drive shaft hooked back up, so let's get down here and get this exhaust cut off. Alright, there we go. So as you can see, now we have no muffler. We just have the downpipe there coming down from the engine, and that's where the kind folks who cut off the exhaust cut it right there behind the, or in front of the cap there, or the catalytic converter. And yeah, so this truck should sound pretty good once we get it fired up. Hopefully tomorrow when we get the new starter. Man, what a beautiful day. Nice to see the sun for once. This truck is about ready to put some batteries in and see if it starts. Last night I got the I modified this air intake right here to get the mass airflow sensor I ordered on there. So I replaced the temperature sensor with that, and hopefully we don't have any troubles there. We'll find out, I guess. And I did go ahead and get the starter on just a little bit ago. So before we try to turn it over though, I'm gonna just look over everything one more time, check all the fluids, and make sure we're good to go. And of course, I got my fire extinguisher there. Not that we should have any fires for whatever reason, but it's good to be safe than sorry. And leave a comment, guys. What do you think? Will it start up? I honestly don't know. Because one other thing I noticed, checking the fuse boxes and comparing them, everything is the same except for the fuse box that came out of this truck had a relay here and had a 30 amp fuse here, which both go to the horizontal fuel conditioning module, which is underneath the driver's side frame rail, which is your fuel pump as well as your water separator. So at first I was like, uh-oh. And not only is there no fuses there, but there's no pins in this box to even hold the fuse in. And so I got home last night and got on the computer, spent several hours looking this up. And most of the trucks I found didn't have those fuses. And I couldn't really find any information on it. But I'm kind of putting two and two together on the fact that in 2005, Ford put heater elements inside of the horizontal fuel conditioning module to help from the fuel gelling up, and those turned out to be disastrous. And then later on, Ford put a service bulletin out for those to be removed. So I'm thinking the fuses I was just talking about there, I think those have something to do with the heater element, which we're going to delete anyway if it's still on here. So if it doesn't start, it probably has something to do with that, but I think we're going to be okay. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check all the fluids over, just double check everything, throw some batteries in, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so as I was hooking up the batteries, I kind of heard a popping noise that sounded like a fuse blowing. So we'll see what surprises we have. But as you can see, we do have power in the truck, and hey, 151, 831. Oh, there it went on the miles. So, oh man, I ain't gonna lie, guys, I'm a little nervous. I'm also excited. Here we go. Let the glow plug light go off. And did. Well, that was exciting. Didn't see any smoke. Let me set this camera off to the side a little bit here. It's gonna get loud because we have no mufflers and we're inside the garage, so I don't know, I'm not sure where to put the camera here, but whew. That was promising. Let's try it again. Started for just a little bit. Let me look everything over and be right back. Alright, so kind of as I expected, the truck really didn't run. I ran for just a little bit because it had a little fuel in the system, but I'm pretty sure that relay and the fuse that go to the horizontal fuel conditioning module, we need those. I used my voltage meter and tested the electrical connectors going down to the pump and didn't show any power. I tested the inertia switch. We do have power over there. So somewhere we got an issue, and I do think it's probably those fuses or relaying the fuse in the box here. So last night I used my frog dissection skills I earned in grade school and carefully cut this old wiring harness apart. And basically what I did is I just took a lot of the plastic insulators and stuff off the wire so I can look and see what's inside, and to see how the old box is connected. And I went ahead and pulled out the wires that go to the relay for the fuel pump. And so all we need to do now is get under the hood with the new harness and kind of see how it's wired up and see if we can wire this to match the way it should be, so it matches the pigtails on the end of the wiring harness that's connected to the chassis, if that makes any sense. Not sure if I explained that very well, but basically I want to take the old harness, take some wires, put it in the new harness, and then we'll see if we can wire it up so it will start. So I've already got this one kind of taken apart, as you can tell, and what I'm doing right now is I just got this box disconnected, but what I'm doing right now is looking at the wires in the pigtails here on the new harness or the replacement harness. So I'm just going to mess with this for a little bit, see if I can get it figured out, and if I can get this wired up, we'll try to start it again, and hopefully everything will work out. Alright guys, so I've got the harness kind of taken apart here over by the fuse box, as I think I showed earlier, and I'm just kind of going through each one of these plugs and looking how it compares to the wiring of the old harness sitting over here. And I did find that in one of the plugs, which is, well, that's as high as I can get it, this one right here, which plugs into a chassis harness down there. I believe it's that one. Anyway, that's actually what goes down to the fuel pump, and in that particular plug it is a little bit different than the old one. The old one had a blue wire, which I took out, which goes up to the fuse box to go to a relay for it, which again we didn't have. There wasn't a spot for it. And in the new one, it has a pink wire with a black stripe instead, which this one has as well. It's just in a different spot. So what I need to do is trace the pink wire in the old harness and see where they got it connected to, and then try to match everything up the way the old harness was and see if that fixes our starting issue. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some wiring done here, and I'll spare you the boredom, and I'll bring you in right now. All right, guys, it is dark and cold, but the truck is back together for the most part. The fuse box and stuff over here is just kind of temporarily sitting in place. I'm gonna see if it starts, and if it does and it runs good, then I'll go back in here and put the covers on the wires. And I only had to cut one wire to splice so we can go up to the fuse box to put a relay in for the pump. But other than that, it's all looking pretty good. So let's go in and turn the key, see what happens. First thing first, I'm just going to kind of put the camera down here as I turn the key, see if I hear the fuel pump this time. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I hear the pump. I hear the pump. All right, let's do it one more time so we get some fuel to the engine. Oh, I'm excited. All right, guys, here we go. Oh yeah. We'll let it run for a minute. Give it a try. Now we do have an ABS light, and I just noticed when I was down there, I forgot to plug in the wheel sensor, so that's probably what that is. But man, it started right up, guys. Man, what a relief. It is good to hear this thing run for the first time, like actually run. And it starts right up once you get some fuel. All right, it is the next day. It is a beautiful day, a little windy, but almost 60 degrees, guys. And after last night's success of getting the engine turned over on the truck, I'm going to go ahead and solder in that wire that we had to cut to splice into the fuse box, and put some shrink wrap over the wire, or shrink tubing, and get it all put back together, and maybe we'll go for a little test drive. But before we do, I'll let these little guys run around, stretch their legs. Looks like I lost one already. That's right, guys, weigh yourselves down. Weigh yourself down. Yeah, it is windy. All right, so it's actually the next day working on the truck, and got the old cap here. I went ahead and replaced the radiator cap because I heard that the OEM ones are junk. So we got a new cap on there. And after soldering the wire there that we had to splice to go in the box for the fuel pump, I went ahead and decided while we had this all taken apart to go ahead and wire in the outside air temperature sensor, which this harness did not have in, and it's actually pretty easy. It just plugs into one of the pigtails or the connectors down there. So I just had to take the connector apart and route the wire in, and there we go. So now everything is wired up and should be working like it should be, except for the blower motor resistor. I still need to find out where the blue wire traces back to from the connector down here, which we can't see right now. And I think I've mentioned this before, but this truck has the automatic climate control blower resistor and not the manual one, so this wiring harness came off a truck with a manual one. So we'll have to figure that out later. I guess for right now we just won't have heat or air or any fan. But for now, let's just start this baby up and see if it moves. All right, so far so good. We are out of the garage, and it actually sounds a lot quieter than it did the first time we started up. So, and that may be because maybe we didn't have like the MAV airflow sensor all the way connected. I don't know, but it sounds really good, and it's I don't know if you can see there, but it's idling really good. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to take it up the street here in the neighborhood, and hopefully we can get it through a couple gears and see how it drives. So far, guys, we're doing good. We got a couple gears. I think we got to at least second gear. What do you think? Should we take it on the street right here? Try to get a little bit of speed? Yeah, I think so too. All right, here we go. Of course, I got some stuff in the bed of the truck. There's 30. Got my tripod in the bed. I'm gonna blow it out. Never do. 40. This thing drives great. I love how it sounds like a jet. Well, we couldn't go far since we don't have any tail lights or anything, but it felt so good to get this on the road and actually have it drive. And I think we got to 4 gears. I don't know if it's a 5-speed or 6-speed, but and so far it drives great. It's shifting great. It sounds good. I am very pleased with this purchase. So. Last thing we need to do, or not the last thing, but the next thing we need to do, so we can get this on the road and legally drive it, is we need to get some taillights, some headlights, and all that good stuff. And I do have the header panel, which holds the grille and headlights on order, but I still need to order the other stuff, and I can't decide. I need your guys' help. Should I go with OEM headlights and grill, or should we do aftermarket and maybe do an LED headlight upgrade? I don't know. LEDs are a lot more expensive, but I think it would make the truck look a little newer and definitely give it a little facelift. So leave a comment below, guys. What do you think, LEDs or stock halogen headlights and tail lights? I'm thinking about doing the Think about doing the tail lights as well with some LEDs. But that is going to be it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe like always, and we'll catch you next time at Casey's Garage.